Alright, so welcome to How to Dyno. In this video, we're going to cover the Autoresponder module. To get started, head over to dyno.gg. We'll go ahead and click on Manage Servers, then select the server you like to manage. Then we'll go over to Modules, and then we're going to click on the Autoresponder module. Ensure the module is enabled. With this module, you can have Dyno basically auto respond to messages in your server, whether it be for FAQ or if you want to be silly. Please note that for standard Dyno, you are limited to having 10 triggers. Premium users can basically have unlimited triggers. To get started, let's go ahead and add a response. In this new box here, you can set the trigger. This works very similar to custom commands. So keep in mind that you can't have multiple triggers for the same item. So you have the trigger, you have different response options. So you can have Dyno just send a plain text message. You can have Dyno send an embedded message. And then you can actually edit the embed here with the preview down below. Or you can actually have Dyno send a reaction message, which will actually react to the message in your server. So we'll go and start off with our message response here. In this box here, you can pretty much type whatever you like. So this is what Dyno will actually respond with when someone triggers the auto response. So for our trigger, let's just go ahead and do test. So this is saying when someone actually says the word test in our server, it'll respond with this. Keep in mind that this wildcard option determines if the user has to specifically say just test in my example. So if they just say test with this off, Dyno will respond. If they say test within a sentence that they have, so say I want to test this, then Dyno will not respond because the wildcard option is not enabled. So for a lot of your cases, I just recommend enabling wildcard because this will cover triggers within the message. So I have my trigger set as test, and then I can enter whatever I'd like here. That is my message. Down here, you do have variables that you can use. So these variables belong in the response option, similar to custom commands. So you have this user variable where you can actually paste the user who triggered this command. So with this, if I were to go ahead and say test in the server, Dyno will respond with this is a test and then actually mention me because I'm the user that triggered the message. You also have other items down below, such as the avatar username. These are items you can play with. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add this. But before I do that, let's cover the allowed channels. This allowed channel section basically tells Dyno where to run this trigger. So if you set an allowed channel, you're basically telling Dyno only allow this trigger to run in this channel. If you don't set anything, Dyno can basically perform its auto response anywhere in the server. Allowed roles only limit Dyno to respond to users in a specific role. And ignored channels basically tell Dyno to ignore a certain channel. So if someone were to say test and a channel that I have ignored, nothing would happen. Same for roles. If you don't want Dyno to respond to certain roles, say like an admin, you can have it ignore that there. And if you hit add, we've now added our first auto response. After you have added a response, you can see that you can actually search. So if you have a long list of responses, you can search through it, or you can come here and remove or edit the response. So in this case, I'm going to remove this, but then now let's get into adding a response for users. So if you want Dyno to respond when a certain user is mentioned, basically all you have to do is grab their user ID and then place that here with the user ID, which is this section here. All you need is just some brackets and the @ symbol, and you place that here. And this is essentially telling Dyno that this is your trigger, which is that user mention. I will show you how you can grab this user ID. Basically in your server, you can just run the whois command on the user or on yourself if you want the mention to be for you. And then you can grab the user ID that way. And then all you have to do is just add this bracket, the @ and then paste in your user ID and then add in this closing bracket here. With this is going to create a response for whenever someone mentions me. And then before I continue with this, I do just want to enable this wildcard so that if anyone mentions me anywhere within their sentence, Dyno will go ahead and send a auto response to that. And for this, I just want Dyno to react to it. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just choose a reaction here. We'll just do maybe something silly, maybe a little screaming face. From there, I can just add the response, and then testing it in the server, I should be able to see Dyno react to any messages that contain my mention. Next up, if we add a new response, if you want Dyno to go ahead and respond to anything and everything in the channel, you can use these brackets plus this asterisk. This will allow Dyno to basically respond to any and all messages. Please keep in mind that there is a little bit of a cooldown. So if you have a channel that has a lot of messages going through, Dyno may not be able to respond to everything. But if things are done in moderation, Dyno should be able to keep up and respond to all of the messages. Please keep in mind that auto responses do kind of work in stages. So if you have multiple auto responses here, Dyno will basically go ahead and evaluate each of the triggers here. Once it finds a trigger, that is what it will perform. So if you have this auto response somewhere above a trigger, and then you maybe have like an ignore channel set, then it will evaluate this first. And then because you have an ignore channel set, it just won't send anything because you have an ignore channel set. So just be careful if you have multiple auto responses. But for the most part, you should be fine. If you have any issues, feel free to reach out to Dyno support. So in this case, I'm going to have Dyno respond with an embedded message. So I can show you this little cool embed builder. I'm going to set the color to red for this. And basically, I'm just going to put test. So I'm going to save this. You can see what it looks like here. If I change this color, let's do maybe like a green. You can see that the image also gets, the preview gets updated here. So I'll hit save. That'll save that, and I can see another preview here. And then basically there's no need to enable this wildcard because this is already acting as a wildcard, but for every message in my channel or server. This can get hectic. So if there's maybe like a specific channel you want this to work out of, I highly recommend doing this, or you'll have Dyno respond to every single message in your server, at least channels Dyno actually has access to. So in this case, let's scope this down to maybe we'll test in our demo section here. The response, but basically all I'm telling Dyno is the only area this trigger is allowed to work is in this allowed channel. So it'll only work in my demo. If anyone speaks or says anything in my other channels, Dyno will not respond. So I'll go ahead and add this response. So now we have two triggers in here. As you can see, Dyno is keeping track of the number of triggers. Again, we do have a limit of 10. All right, and then just to round everything out, I'm going to add a response here. That's just a regular message response. I'm going to recreate what I had earlier. Test. And again, I'm going to enable this wildcard because I want Dyno to respond to this trigger anywhere within a message. And I'm going to save this. And then we'll go ahead and swap over to Discord to see how this works. All right, so here we are in Discord. If you remember, we had a wildcard trigger that only worked in demo. So if I say hi, I should get that embedded message that we created. Again, I only had this scoped to the demo. So if I go to demo 2, I should not get that message because I only had my allowed channel set to demo. Now, if I just go back, okay, and then let's go ahead and test our other responses. Now, I did make a note earlier about using that wildcard trigger because I have the wildcard trigger set to my first item here. That is going to be the first trigger that runs. So for those of you guys using that special trigger, I recommend either having that lower in your list. So when Dyno evaluates each of the triggers, it doesn't hit that one first, or just having that be your one and only trigger. So in this case, I've gone ahead and removed that wildcard trigger so that I can test the other triggers. I had another one for test. So if I type in test, Dyno responds with test. And then finally, I had one with my mention. So if I actually mention myself here, Dyno goes ahead and reacts to my message. And because I had this wildcard set within this specific trigger, I can go ahead and say hi at how to Dyno, and Dyno will still go ahead and pick that up. If I hadn't enabled that wildcard, Dyno will not react to this. So yeah, that is pretty much it to the Autoresponder module. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Dyno support or leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe.